What's up guys, Connor from T-sportline. Today we're going to be installing the rival skid tray setup on our Tesla Cybertruck. This kit's great for protecting the underside of your Cybertruck for some serious off-roading. So here you're going to have your kit contents. Kit's going to come with a rear skid tray, your front hanger for the skid tray, and then the hardware for the kit, as well as your lower control arm skids, and then the hardware for your lowers. Finally, your tools you're going to need is going to be a 10mm socket and ratchet and a pocket screwdriver. If you have our CTX front bumper on your car, you will also need a 4mm Allen. First things first, we need to set our Cybertruck to extract mode. So we're going to press our car icon right here, and then we will go to Dynamics, click Off-Road, hit Confirm, come back to Controls, and then select Extract, hit Confirm one more time, and that will bring the car as high as it possibly can to give us as much working room underneath. All right, so now that we're under the car, we're going to be able to remove these 4 bolts here. We have our CTX front bumper on, so if you still have your OEM front bumper, disregard this next part. This is specifically for removing our CTX front bumper skids. For CTX bumper owners, we're going to go ahead and start by removing these 4 10mm head bolts here, as well as the 4mm Allens, pretty much the whole perimeter of your bumper. For factory bumper owners, you're going to remove these 4 bolts here, and that will be all you will need to remove. And your front plastic splash pan will be able to hang down a little bit. There we go, we've got our center under tray out. Now that we have our center splash guard out, we're going to remove our 3 trim clips that are at the front of our OEM skid tray. So next we're going to remove these little trim clips here. You're going to take your pocket screwdriver, put it in your detent here, and just pop that out, and then your clip will just pull straight down. You got one more in the center, and a third one on the passenger side. Next, we're going to move on to the 10mm head bolts that run all the way back. There are 11. So we're going to take our side tray here and pull it down while we pivot our skid tray over the edge of that, and then back that direction to do the same on the other side. This is going to be a little bit stiff and tricky with our CTX bumper. If you have the OEM bumpers on still, this piece would just slide forward and out. So now with the front of our skid tray here hanging down, we're just going to slide it forward and off. And you'll see your front motor assembly sitting right above you. I figured this was a great time to go ahead and pre-set up all of my hardware. So you're going to take one of your long bolts and take a small washer and then your big washer, and then you're going to take your shorter spacer and put it on top, and you'll have 2 of these set up. And then you're going to take another pair of your long bolts and do the same thing, small washer, big washer, and then you're going to take your longer spacer and put it on that, and you'll have 2 of those. So there's those 2 and those 2. And then finally, you're going to have your short guys, and you're going to do long, small washer, big washer, like that. And you'll have 3 of these short guys like that, and 2 of the long guys like that. So now that we're up under the car, we're going to take our rival skid tray, and you're going to put it underneath the CTX bumper assembly. And then you're going to take your long bolts with no spacer, and we're just going to get those guys started, but we're not going to run it in all the way, as our front skid splash tray here from the CTX bumper will use that same mounting point. So this is just to keep the tray from coming down on our face. Next, we'll take our bolt with our small spacer, a long bolt with the small spacer. This is how it's going to go under your skid tray. I find it easier to get this started and then bring your washer up on top rather than trying to middle the skid tray like this. just starting these don't need to be run in the full way. So our under tray is going to slot in like this with the spacer towards the top of the subframe, like this. So you should still have a little bit of range of motion on your hanger bracket. So if you're still using your factory OEM bumper, you're going to go ahead and install your long bolts with the long and tall spacers. Now they are going to go in those center two holes on your factory splash guard. If you are using a CTX bumper with this kit, these bolts will go in at the end when you are replacing your center skid tray. They will fit up in here like this to keep your skid tray off your subframe. Here I've got our center skid tray. You see it's got some divots here at the bolt mounting points. That face is going to face towards the road surface. So your center tray should face this way. So I've got our main center tray here, and we're going to take it, and there's two cutouts that we're going to push up on our front hanger and then let it slot into place. And then this may be a good job to have an extra set of hands or a friend with, as you will come back and go ahead and put your 3 small screws, bolts in these slots, which I have here. And these will go ahead and run up almost all the way in, just to keep it from falling down on top of us while I go grab the rest of them. You may be getting stuck on your plastic molding for your fender liners here, so you may need to pull these down as you're trying to start your bolt to get your skid tray fully aligned. Just like that. And these are M6 grade 8.8 bolts, so these are going to torque down to 10 Newton meters. Now that we've got everything into position, we can go ahead and tighten down our 3 rear bolts and then these 2 center bolts that are shared by the skid tray and the hanger. If you are using our CTX bumper, you can also go ahead and remove your 2 frontmost bolts, as we are about to reinstall our front splash guard. All right, so I've got the CTX splash guard going back in now. I think it's easiest to get your front 3 slotted in first and go ahead and get those guys in and started, just so you don't have to hold your skid tray up. As well as having the skid tray pivot down like this will help us to get these back 2 bolts in. All right, so you're going to take your long bolt with your tall spacer, and you're going to put the bolt through your tab on the tray here, and then put your spacer on as you get it started. And I would just get a couple turns going so you can get the second one up and in there before you take away all your access. Run these guys up hand tight as we get the rest of our hardware in. Next step is going to be to grab your last 2 long bolts with your 2 washers and get those guys started on your edges here. And now we can put the rest of our center tray bolts in. I find doing these two that connect to the winglet first will help position your center tray with these two bolts here and make them easier to line up. Last thing to do on your rival skid tray install is just put your 1 10mm bolt back on your fender liner screw here, and you'll have one of these on either side. And the same thing for the other side. All done. So this is going to be your OEM lower control arm plate. It's more of a splash guard than a skid tray. So it's got 3 10mm bolts here that we're going to remove and replace this with the rival skid tray so these lower control arms can take a hit. These bolts do have thread locker on them, so they tend to be a little tough getting broke loose. And I do recommend putting blue Loctite on them when you put bolts back in. The rival kit does come with hardware, but not Loctite. Just like that, your skid tray will come right off of your lower control arm, and we can just put this to the side. You won't be using the hardware or that tray again. So just like your skid tray, you're going to have your bolt with your small washer on first and then your large washer on. You're gonna take your skid tray, hang it up there, and they are slotted so that you can adjust it to be centered on your lower control arm. It has a nice couple of cutouts for your suspension arm bolts. So you want to make sure that those aren't being hit by your control arm skid. And then we will just run these in tight. And that's the same procedure for the other side. Just like that, we've got our rival skid tray and lower control arm skids installed. Last step would be to remove the truck from extract mode. I've got it set to very high right now. If you like what you see, go ahead and leave a comment down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.